so good, man. That song hits every time. I get excited. Anytime we have a guest on and they're bobbing their head to that song, I'm like, hey, fuck yeah. By the way, that's Long Cut.
Was that Eminem?
No, man. That's a buddy of mine from the Marine Corps. And by the way, don't say who you are yet because we haven't given you an intro, so people have to be surprised.
I was just going to say, I won't, but I was just going to say, homie needs to write the track for my upcoming documentary.
Done. So this is a buddy of mine from the Marine Corps, so you'll love it, right? Veteran, Marine Corps infantryman. He's back at division schools when we were instructors together. He used to rap and make fun of everybody, and it was bullshit because if somebody raps at you and they make fun of you, you can't punch them. You have to try to rap back. It's a rap back. But I can't rap. None of us can rap. Long story short, man, he's a part of like this hip hop industry, which is like the fastest growing music genre, which is like guys that are in country music that rap. And so he's in that. It's called Long Cut. They're phenomenal. They've got a lot of great songs, and obviously him being a good buddy of mine, we love promoting him on the show and just anybody and everybody having a chance to hear them and then go look at them. But yeah, if you want to connect on that, man, I'll make sure you guys get connected. He's a good dude.
Yeah, we're filming a feature documentary of the challenge that we have coming up starting here shortly, and this thing's going to be like mind blowing. So it's going to be cool.
He'd be super appreciative. He's a great guy. Got great music. But with that being said, I'm glad it puts everybody in the mood. Fun one today. Probably one of the toughest guys we've met. We've met a lot of tough guys. A lot of us like to consider ourselves tough guys, and I keep that within the confinements of my house. If my wife thinks I'm a tough guy, then and my kids think I'm tough. That's as far as I'm going to take it with integrity and understanding. There's just a lot of hard dudes out there, but more importantly is just supporting those. But fun guy today, Eli.
Super fun.
50 Ironmans. In 50 days in 50 states. Where the fuck that idea even comes from, I'm excited to hear. He's lived to tell this story, and not only tell the story, he's about to do more. He's about to do 100. But without further ado, super badass guy, great personality, really cool that he's open and was cool to come on the show and just contribute to us, and I think that's great because he's in the middle of his training right now for these 100 Ironmans. He's eating on the go and doing what he can, but he made time for us, and it's super cool. But with that being said, it's the Iron Cowboy, James Lawrence, my man.
What's up, brother? Yeah.
What's going on, man?
I am going to be eating. Like I said, we're in a huge training block. I just came off a 2-hour run after my swim set, and I wanted to come on the show, and I'm squeezing it in. I got a 3-hour ride to do, and I'm headed to Tennessee tomorrow to speak on stage. And so, man, we are minute to minute, and so I'm multitasking, spending some quality time with you and refueling.
Love it, man. And I don't think we'd want to have it any other way, man. Like just having raw stories on here, a lot of things that are going to come to mind for you, right in the heat of all of this is probably really good content, man. But just to give listeners, a little bit of who you are, man, before we kind of get started. I know we mentioned the the Iron Cowboy stuff and the Iron Man stuff, but is there anything else that you want to mention to our listeners before we roll with your story and get it kicked off?
Man, I think it's important for people to realize that, one, I'm just a normal dude, and I do extraordinary things because of the team that we have around us. And my team's core is myself, my wife, and then we've got 5 kids. And so we're a big family unit. I'm a family guy first, and then we do crazy stuff on the side. And so I like to lead with that.
Yeah, and I'm super curious. One, we're both dads too, right? And I have 2 kids, not 5. One of them's 10, so she's pretty much more mature and wipes her own ass and does her own thing. I'm probably done raising her for the most part. We have a 2-year-old, and we have our hands full, so I can only imagine what 5 kids looks like with all this. But reviewing back to the beginning, man, this Iron Cowboy, this guy, right? Like, where did the Ironmans start? Where did this come from? Where did Iron Man come from? What was as far back as you can go, what was your day one $0 per se of just not only growing, you physically to conquer all these challenges, but then the growth into the business side, right? Like I've bought shirts from you. I've gotten your protein before. We can see the business side, and I'm super intrigued to how both of those grow consistently together and where it all started.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about starting from zero. My journey started, I grew up a wrestler and I have an athletic background, but not anything in the endurance space, which is what I do now. And it's funny because my wife was like, "Hey, James, let's go do a 4-mile fun run." And I was like, "You just said run and fun in the same sentence. That's crazy, right?" And she was like, "No, it's for Thanksgiving. We'll just go there and have a good time." And I go do this 4-mile fun run, and it obliterates me. I'd been out of athletics for a while, and lovingly, she told me I was pathetic. And then it just said, I'm signing you up for the Salt Lake City Marathon, figure it out. And so did the marathon, had a terrible experience, hated running, injured myself, did it all wrong, found triathlon, loved that. And then just started racing. And literally, you want to talk about starting from zero. I didn't know how to swim. And it's a huge part of our race. And I couldn't get from one side of the pool to the other side without like gasping for air, trying to like stay afloat, keep my body going. And I have a picture of my very first race. It was in a pool, and the photographer caught me in an amazing moment. I'm literally hanging off the edge of the pool, gasping for air. I'm wearing a nose plug, and it looks like I am like edge of the Titanic. And so that's kind of where my journey started. And like looking at that picture, it goes, no way that guy goes on to breaking some records and excuse me, and on the way to hopefully, setting some endurance history here.
What was your normal life outside of like when you first did this 4K or this 4 mile run with your wife, and then she signed you up for the marathon? Was there something that was like charging you to do more? Like, okay, cool, you sucked on the 4 mile run, she's signing up for this marathon. Was there anything that was driving you to do better on the marathon? And when you found Ironman, like what was your personal life looking like at that point? Was it, because it obviously wasn't full-time training. Did you have a career at that point? Was there any thoughts of like just where you were at with yourself, where you felt you needed more in the first place? Or what did that look like off the grid?
Yeah, I think just my overall ethos is don't suck at life, right? And so you're always kind of striving to be more, to be better. And for me, life's always been great. Like we get to choose what our perception is about our lives, and you can choose to focus on the parts that suck, or you can choose to put the focus and attention on the things that are rad. And I've always chosen to put the attention on the things that are rad. But back then, I mean, I was a big golfer too. I was trying to get my pro card. I was working at a golf course, and then you get married and have a couple of babies, and a struggling golfer income is not great. And so I opened up my own mortgage company and became a business owner, and just started my own business as an entrepreneur. And that's kind of when I got into endurance racing, and we were making good money. And so I had the time to dedicate to my personal health and just really fell in love with the sport of endurance racing. And then just fast forward a few years and the economy dropped out of the world in 2008. And we were the center of it by owning a mortgage company, and lost my home and lost everything. And we fought for years to try to make things right and square things up, and ultimately rock bottom. And that's kind of when we shifted to just, starting a coaching business for athletes, and really chasing this dream. I tried to corporate America, that type of thing, and it just wasn't my jam. And we started to build this little triathlon coaching business, and we're like, okay, we got to do something different than people are doing to get our kind of share of the marketplace. And what if we broke a world record? Okay, what do we want? What does that look like? And we just started going down this road. And as the journey continued, it escalated. And it's interesting because when you're in the middle of something and it seems almost impossible, it is, because if you're pushing your boundaries at all times, when you're in the middle of it, that's the furthest you've been pushed. And so it seems impossible. But if you push and face those adversities and kind of grind through it, you get to the point where you have success and you've won that moment of adversity. And then you look back and you go, okay, that was hard. But I've grown and I've learned. And every time we do that, it opens up Pandora's box, if you would, of what's possible with the mind and the body, all the way to the point now where we're attempting 100 consecutive Ironmans. I mean, we're talking 14 hours a day for 14 weeks to cover 14,000 miles, no days off. And so to go from zero, don't know how to swim, maybe I'm going to drown in this pool today, to beautiful women pushing kids in their strollers, passing me on a 4 mile fun run, to a full feature documentary of us trying to accomplish endurance sports history. I mean, you talk about day one, $0. right?
Yeah. And it's interesting. I knew you were a lender. I've done some research on that, and like I've been following you for a little while, man, and buying your protein and had some fun with that. And obviously, you know, you and I are we've got some similar friends. Annie Frisella, Sal Frisella over at First Form. I know you're a First Form guy. Super cool to see you over there, man. And
I'm actually headed there in a couple of weeks down to HQ. We're going to be launching their new endurance formula, Interformance. And they're actually the title sponsor behind Conquer 100.
Super cool.
And so just unbelievable dudes. Ever since being on the MFCEO podcast, just became buddies with those guys, respect what they do, where they came from, how they do it, what a culture they've created over a year. Yeah, like you said, I'm a massive First Form fan.
It's great, and that's kind of how our relationship started out with them as well. You know, and we were on their podcast as well, and Andy was on ours, and we've been doing some stuff with Sal on the side, and just brainstorming some things. And sounds like we might be going back out there third or fourth week of February, so we might be out there the same time you are.
I'll be out there on the 22nd.
Yeah, we might cross paths, and we'll have to just don't ask me to go run with you or nothing like that. I don't know if you.
No, man.
I'll share some beef jerky with you while you're in between. But what a cool thing!
I'll take it.
So when you were doing this, and he's like, "Hey," what I heard was like, "Hey, how do we create our cap space? Where's our piece of the pie? We want to be coaches and land grab our space. Like, how do we do that? How do we become unique? Should we break a world record?" So early on in your coaching career, hey, the market crashes and all these things happen, and you're relying on yourself and trying to get creative, and you're going into this coaching space. How soon was it from that point to, hey, maybe we should break a record? And the record you're talking about, is that the 50 Ironmans in 50 states in 50 days?
No, so that was more that was like 2/3 of the way through the journey. So again, you have to, people rush to try to do something extraordinary and don't have the experience to do it. They're not patient with how to hit that home run, right? That grand slam. And so, you know, my journey started with one Ironman, like a single day Ironman, and learn from that experience. And then, so the first world record that we broke was back in 2010, and it was the most official events, half Ironmans in a year. And we did it to raise money for charity. We broke the world record. And then I was like, okay, I don't want to be the half Ironman world record holder. What's the record for full Ironmans? And at the time it was 22. Official events around the world, and this is in a calendar year. And so we set on a journey, and we did 30 full Ironmans through 11 countries that year, and beat the world record. And then 2 years later, that's what put us on the journey to now do 50 consecutive. And so we broke, you know, you can see the progression in the journey and going through, okay, small successes, small wins, lead to bigger wins, lead to bigger successes. And through experience only can you then conceptualize the next kind of like what's possible. And every time we announce what's possible, the public kind of freaks out a little bit, and they're like, nah, not possible, can't be done. and I just have to chuckle because you have to have gone through something and had that personal experience of that growth and adversity in order to be able to even mentally comprehend or internalize what it is that somebody's trying to accomplish, right? Because if somebody says, man, I ran up Mount Everest, and I'm like, what? You ran up Everest? But that dude didn't just wake up one day and go, I'm going to run up Everest. It's like free solo, right? Unbelievable story. And Alex Honnold, he didn't just wake up and like climb El Capitan, no ropes. Like he spent hours and hours and hours meticulously plotting out the course in which he's going to do it, and broke down that slab of rock into the smallest of pieces. And over time, he gained success with the routes that he had chosen, the handholds he was going to do, the movements he was going to do. And for us, it's been a similar journey. No way on that. When I did that first Ironman, I'm like 100 consecutive in the bag, done, easy, like shotgun fire that thing in the water. No chance. I mean, I couldn't even think that big back then. But as you go through a journey and you do start to pile up these wins and successes, you can go from that day $1.0 to an attempt at world history.
Right. And that's what's so fun, just hearing about some things that you have to say. And obviously, like we're big into the fitness community. Eli and I both come from the fitness community, but there's so much on this battlefield of business, and it's been a great time. And we're tackling that endeavor, but a lot of things, like from my experience through the military things and the experience there, and then some of our stuff with fitness, and then hearing some of yours, it's like, man, so much of it correlates to business, or correlates to being a husband, correlates to being a dad. And that's where we've been really trying to hit, is like, man, so, at this point of where you were at, as far as like, and where you're at now, of just, hey, you got to be patient in the experience. Where does that correlate? And we obviously haven't mentioned, some of the brand as far as what's behind Iron Cowboy, but it'd be fun to hear business-wise what you guys have going on, with some of your products or just some of your merchandise, the documentary you got going on, and then how does the lessons that you've had physically through some of these Ironmans apply to the business side?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And since the 50, I've had an opportunity to travel around the world, and I've spoken in 48 different countries on 450 different stages. It legit doesn't matter if I'm talking to the Minnesota Vikings in the NFL, or if I'm talking to some accountants in Sri Lanka. Like, fascinating to me, it's the mindset piece that ties everybody together. And as humans, we're getting in our own way, and we're toughest on ourselves. And for some reason, we like to beat ourselves up and not see the best version of who we are. And that mindset piece transfers into athletics, and like you said, business, and a relationship, and in parenting. If you can learn to manage your mind, your thoughts, the emotions that are tied to circumstantial events in your life, then you can master almost anything, because that mindset piece is the centerpiece of anything. And like I said, it doesn't matter what level you are, CEO or the newest graduate coming into it. For some reason, we're all human, and that's cool. And like, I guarantee you, Mahomes with a $500 million contract wakes up and doubts himself some days, and struggles, and has that internal dialogue in his head. And the Joe Schmo is just going on his journey. Day one, $0, here we are. He's having those same conversations. And I think we just need to look at people as humans and understand that, like, dude, Andy Frisella wakes up and probably, dude is successful.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, he wakes up and he's like, damn, what's today going to be like? And I guarantee you, I know it because he's human, and we all are. Those conversations creep in. I call it the bully inside of us. And that bully is relentless. And it's only through those experiences and showing up. You can't read how to be mentally tough. You can't like watch a video and be like, mentally tough, right? Those moments can empower you to take action to do something, right? But you have to make the decision to now implement that knowledge that you've learned and put it into practice. Because it's only through experience that you are going to grow and gain that mental toughness. And it's over a long period of time, right? I didn't become mentally tough last night.
Right.
It started when I was 11 years old, throwing newspapers in the dead cold of the Canadian winters, right?
And you probably didn't even identify that you were tough back then, right? Like, it was probably something you were just doing.
No, you just show up every day. And then over the course of literally 40 years, because I'll be 45 this year, you can look back on your journey and say, oh man, that's why I can do this today, because of this experiences that I can now pile, and you have this insane foundation, because you truly don't know what you're going to do when you're backed into a corner. It's super dark and you feel like you're being mugged and robbed, and until you're in that moment.
Right.
And hopefully you've had enough experience that when you get to that moment, and so like, I'm probably overconfident going into this 100 Ironmans, but I have a lifetime of experience of doing these kind of things. And I know, okay, we know how to handle that. We know how to breathe. We know how to separate the emotion from it. We know how to detach and make decisions and problem solve at a high level. And as long as you're willing to keep showing up and keep taking the next step, and ultimately realizing that next step isn't going to kill me, then you're going to eventually solve that problem. It's a matter of time and motion, right? If I keep moving, I may not get there when I want to or as fast as I want to, but if I keep moving and I'm hitting deadlines, I'm eventually going to get there. The only way to guarantee failure is to take yourself out of the game intentionally. Make a decision to remove yourself from the game.
Right. And I'm glad you said confidence. I'm glad you said that, because, like, there's definitely, some folks might have like a chip on their shoulder, some confidence, and I'm all for the humble talk, right? I'm all for, hey, be humble, be humble, be humble. And there's this other side as far as like, you know how people are kind of like taking a jab at toxic masculinity or thinking that masculinity is toxic, and there's some things out there in society now. I kind of feel the same when it comes to confidence, where if somebody observes a slight chip on his shoulder or some competitiveness or some confidence, and you're not on like a football field where they've recognized that before and you're allowed to scream and holler, hey, if it's anywhere else, people take it with the assumption that you're not humble because you have confidence, you know, and like, but just with some things I've experienced in my life with what I've accomplished through some special units in the military and some things we did as police officers, if you don't have a certain chip on your shoulder, a certain level of confidence that you can be called on to accomplish something, you're not going to be successful. Like, you do have to have some layer of confidence in yourself that you've put the work in and that you are confident what your abilities are. And hey, I do want the ball when we're kicking that door in, and here's why. Now, blind confidence or just thinking that you're the shit and you haven't put the work in, I think that's arrogance, right? Or another word, and that's something different. But and that's why I love that you're called a cowboy. Because, dude, it's okay to have confidence and kind of put that swagger out there and be proud of what you're doing and putting the work in, and every once in a while throw a wink in there, you know, of like, hey, I got it, you know. And but again, it's like, I'm not sure what it looks like in the endurance world. We're not, you know, versed enough there, but anytime confidence is brought up, it's like the immediate rebuttal is the humble talk. And it's like, dude, just because a guy's got that does not mean he's not humble. And so what's your opinion on all of that, and how do you stay confident in such a healthy way? And I'm sure at your level there's naysayers or there's opinions out there, and how do you quiet the noise and just stay focused on what you do?
Yeah, I love that you use the word swagger, because that's the best way to describe it. You have to have a certain level of acceptable swagger in order to pull anything off at the highest level. And I guarantee you, a sports analogy, end of a basketball game, a couple ticks left on the clock. Are you going to pass it to the guy that has swagger and confidence to take that shot? Or are you going to pass it to the guy that's like, ooh, I don't know, I'm humble, I'm not, you know, no way, I'm not giving it to that guy. I'm giving it to the guy that's got some swagger and some, like, give me the ball. I want the ball. And because I know I've done the work, I know I'm the best person on this court. That's totally acceptable. There's a difference between knowing you're great and showing it by example and telling everybody you're great.
Yeah.
And to me, if you just lead by example, like, be great and have some swagger. I love the fight game. I love Conor McGregor. Love him, hate him, don't care. I love that he tweeted his own tweet. Dude tweeted his own tweet after he won 2 titles in 2 different weight classes, and he said, I called this doubt me now. Mm-hmm. Dude, that's the perfect amount of swagger. Like, I said I was going to do it. I backed it up. I won 2 titles. I was the first dude to ever win 2 titles in 2 different weight classes. Doubt me now. And I think it's totally acceptable, 1,000%, to wake up every single day, have a dream and a goal so big it scares you, put your feet on the ground and say, doubt me now, and then go to work, right? The problem with arrogance is I say I'm going to do it, I think it, and then I don't do it or execute at the level that matches my chatter, right?
Mouth, yep.
If those are in line with each other, dude, swag on, right? Just get after it.
Yeah.
And to me, like, a guy like Tom Brady, like, dude, swag it up. Like, you've proven who you are. Show it through your merit.
Enjoy it. Have fun with it. Embrace that, right?
Like, dude, like, when you're the GOAT, be the GOAT, and it's cool.
Yeah, and what I enjoy about Conor McGregor, right, regardless of people's opinions, is, you know, and it's the same thing with like taking the shot. Somebody asked me that a long time ago. Hey, Will, are you the kind of guy that takes the shot at the end of the game? And what does that look like? And I said, yes, I'm that guy. And he's like, yeah, is it because, oh man, like, your ability to, like, score a shot? And he's going idealistically, right? Of like, oh, is it your ability to make the shot? And hey, you like the lead? And I go, yeah, man, but it's also because I understand I can shoulder when I miss the shot.
I was gonna say the same thing, dude.
Dude, I can shoulder. I can shoulder it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, give me the rock, because I know I can handle it if I don't make it.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna crumble me. And it should give you guys confidence that if I do make it, give it to me again. I've still got that confidence to hit it again. I love that you said that.
Yeah, man. And it's always resonated with me. And it's very consistent with, like, Conor, right? Like, the guy is complimentary and humble in defeat. He's even humble and compliments his opponent when he wins. Like, the promotion's over, the fight's over. Hey, respect. At the end of the day, he says, these guys got in the ring and they bled with me. And he's like, hey, respect. Nate Diaz, doesn't matter who it was. hey, we're going to promote the fight and we're going to have some bad blood or whatever it looks like. And hey, that's part of the fight game and the psychology behind it. But at the end, if I win, I'm shaking your hand because you got in here and bled with me. And if he lost, he's shaking your hand. He's going to come back and get better. And when he lost to Nate Diaz the first time, he comes back. He doesn't take it at a lighter weight. He goes right back to 170, right into Nate Diaz's prime of like where he typically fights at, and he beats him. And it's like, man, like I love the respect behind shouldering when you don't make the shot. Everybody's so focused on like, yeah, you're the guy who wants the ball at the end of the game. And everybody's so focused on the shot going in because we're being hypothetical for the sake of like conversation. It's like, no, it's when I fucking miss that shot, I'm going to shoulder everything that comes with that. And I'm going to come back even better and even more prepared to set myself up and make more shots than I miss.
Yeah, I love it. And then I was super disappointed that Conor lost the last fight. It's going to make him a better fighter. And you will see Conor with a belt around his waist again. It's going to take some time. He had some ring rust on him, but I love watching him, dude. He understands the game that he's playing. I love it on a business level as well as an athletic level. You watch him with his kids. Like, we've seen that guy grow and change and mature. And again, we're all humans and we make mistakes. And trust me, you throw $100 million at anybody and they're going to be a friggin' jackwagon in some moment.
It's almost like you have to be. It's almost like you just need to take some time to get it out of your system so you can come back and refocus.
Yeah, and then they realize that was dumb. I don't want to miss this opportunity again. And I love it. He came out and said, I want to fight 7 times in the next 18 months. Let's go.
Yeah, and I also think, just competitors like yourself, real competitors in life respect what that guy's doing because they understand it, they see it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure, like, are there any, as far as you, right, being in like in this stage, thinking back, were there any failures at Ironmans or failures along with your process, since you started day one? Are there any big failures or big moments where you felt, even if it wasn't the finish line, you just failed on yourself or things happen unexpectedly? But are there any big failures that you tend to reflect back on that you remember that always stick out when you look back?
I don't see them as failures. Obviously, I see them as learning experiences. And for me, we try to push the envelope a lot in training, and that's why I don't see them as failures. I see them as testing grounds, and we try to do everything we can and try to anticipate everything that's coming. The only failure to me is giving up and not taking not having the maturity to learn from the missteps that we took in the past. And to me, that's the failure. That's the opportunity loss. And so for me, I mean, I do it. We try to push the boundaries in training and learn from those, because when the lights are on, that's not the opportunity to fail. That's when to me, the hardest part of this 100 Ironmans we're doing is getting to 26 days from this recording to the start line. Once we get to the start line, like, we know as a team, we've done the work. We've done everything we can. We've put everything in place. And now we get to showcase that. And absolutely, without a doubt, not being naive, there's going to be struggle. There's going to be adversity. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be curveballs. We'll handle those. We'll deal with those. To me, these big projects, the 100 days to me is like a victory lap. Any big challenge that I do is a victory lap. And again, we stumble, we fall, we make mistakes. We're not human. But it's about failing as hard as you can in the process and getting yourself ready to face that adversity in that victory lap, right?
Right.
So, and to be also honest too, it's a 14-week challenge, right? I mean, we're talking 100 days. And so the way that we built in my training is like, my training isn't over on March 1st, day number 1. That's where we shift into the first phase of the project, which is still a continuation of my training. And we're actually training in the first third of this to get ready for the middle third, which will get ready for us for the back third. And so we're actually using the actual project as a training block to go through to get us into the point where we can achieve this goal and make that history. So yeah, I mean, to fail is to learn. And I think you can't be afraid of failure, and actually you should push towards failure, because unless you're trying to break the mold or break the system, you don't know how to fix it unless you've broken it in preparation. And so I think the concept of like being scared of failure is flawed, and we actually need to push towards failure in order to be ready for the real adversity during an actual challenge or event.
Right. And then in regards to like the 50 Ironmans in 50 days in 50 states, now you're going for 100. Is there any difference between, or are there any major differences as far as like doing the 100? Is that 100 going to be local and it's going to be less travel, but obviously it's double the amount of Ironmans, right? Which is extraordinary. What do you feel the major difference is in addition to travel that you're going to face, and how do you combat those?
Yeah, I mean, insane differences. When you hear it on the surface, you're like, oh, that's the same challenge. We've seen this before. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, you take what everybody thought was impossible and then double it. That's an insane ask physically and mentally. And if there's a documentary on Amazon Prime that people can go watch, and our book's called Redefine Impossible. And you'll see when you read the book and watch the documentary that there was absolute chaos. And so many things happened that we didn't anticipate, and we were in 1,000% survival mode, right? And so the concept of this is, okay, look, if we double what public perception of impossible is, if we remove chaos and put team and system in place, can we now defy logic of what we think the mind and the body of a human being is capable of achieving? And you can take that lesson into life and into parenting and everything that we do in business. Look, do we want to defy logic in our business? Okay, in order to do that, we need to put the right team around us. We need to remove chaos and put systems in place. We need to be consistent and show up every single day in order to give ourselves a chance at breaking through those barriers of what public perception is, right? And so this changes a lot because we're doubling the demand on the ask, and we are controlling the environment. I mean, it's all going to be here in Utah. My home is the home base. We are staying close to here. We are controlling what I eat, when I eat. We're trying to control my sleep patterns. We've got a hyperbaric chamber to sleep in. We're doing, we've got a nutritionist on board. We're being monitored by the head cardiologist of the Lakers and the Dodgers. We're monitored. Like, there's just so much that is going into this. And that's why the documentary is going to be so fascinating, because we're going to be able to capture and analyze all of that data. And really, I'm a lab study for them. These guys are so excited to have somebody that's willing to exert for 14 hours a day for 14 weeks and to cover 14,000 miles consecutively. Just that test of data is so valuable to them that they're pumped. And so we were grateful to partner with them. We're going to showcase a lot of that in the reports that we post afterwards, and obviously in the documentary at a high level. It's
going to be great. Is there anybody like early on or even now, right? Like, because besides the confidence piece, like, we can definitely tell you put the work in. I've been watching your Instagram. I mean, even before you knew me, I remember like messaging you one time, was just super appreciative of your content. You messaged me back. Right. Like I wasn't where I'm at now as far as my followers, nor did you probably even look at how many followers I had. It was just, you were just such a good dude to reach out. So like, we can tell that's there. Is there anybody that you pulled guidance or motivation from, or just kind of looked up to? Like, is there anybody in the endurance world or in a celebrity, like, where did you pull? Is there any YouTube videos you would watch before you would grind out an Ironman, or before you'd work out? Or is anybody that you kind of like look up to, or just enjoy who they are, and you sometimes absorb their content and you kind of pull some energy from it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I live in this little bubble, and I try to be cautious with who I look up to and the content that I digest, because a lot of times that puts limits on us as humans. And we go, okay, that's the standard of excellence, and we strive for that, not knowing that we could surpass that as far as execution. And so for me, I kind of beat to my own drum, you know what I mean? And but I do. I admire a lot of sports guys. George St. Pierre in the UFC. I mean, that guy, you talk about excellence at a high level. You talk about respect. You talk about humility. You talk about doing the work and then backing it up. And then guys like Jordan and LeBron and the guys that have been performing consistently for such a long period of time. Tiger Woods, great example. And the story I love actually most about Tiger is greatest greatest sports achievement in sports, and then the greatest fall in sports history.
And he comes back.
Him and Lance Armstrong, the greatest falls from the pinnacle of your sport, legendary status. And then if you follow sports, you know where you were 2019 when Tiger Woods came back and won the Masters. I mean, holy hell, what a story. You talk about the greatest fall in sports history and the greatest comeback in sports history. And so to watch guys like that, just back it up.
Yeah.
Back it up and perform and be consistent. And just the whole mindset piece intrigues me too. And again, I go back to GSP and the fight game and the respect that he has and the humility and the hard work. And you follow him and he's just a super humble, nice guy. And that's what I think I gravitate most about GSP. And I'm from Canada. He's a Canadian too. I've never met him. I'd love to, but I mean, he's got millions of followers and it's kind of tough to break that red tape, but one day maybe.
If he heard what you were doing, if he heard what you were doing, I bet his ass would be in Utah trying to figure out what the hell this guy's all about.
I'd like to invite GSP to run one of the tail ends, maybe just 5K of one of my marathons with me.
That would be fun. Wouldn't that be cool?
If anybody knows GSP, let him know I'm inviting him to Utah.
I'll make a couple calls.
Will knows everybody, man.
I'll make a couple calls. Everybody. I'm the most famous unknown guy there is, Cowboy.
Love it.
James, question for you, James. I'm so curious, man. You know, you had mentioned, you made a couple comments earlier about detaching from emotion and just some of the mindset things you're going through. Man, I'm so curious, dude, because I'm the guy that was you on the fun run. Like, what the hell are you putting those two together for? A mom would for sure be passing me on a run. There's so much internal shit that happens when your body is uncomfortable and things are starting to break and tear down and blister up. What is your mental checklist, or what goes through your mind when every part of your body is telling you to stop what you're doing, but you've got to do 99 other Ironmans coming up, man? What's going on in that head?
Yeah, I mean, we all have choices, right? And it's the knowledge of, I didn't give it everything I have, and am I going to allow this moment or this adversity to define who I am? Mm. And I love just the real simple core concept of you'll torture yourself with failing or quitting on yourself for the rest of your life. Or you can choose the other path and say, okay, this pain is temporary, this too shall pass. Mm-hmm. And what does it look and feel like to be successful and accomplish this goal? And then I continually drive through that. I'm just really big on, it's just temporary, and I can handle it, and I'm going to grow from it, and then I'm going to be able to handle and be able to handle more, right?
And it's that bigger picture too, right? Because it's like, what I love the dichotomy between how hard you on yourself, right? And like that, hey, we have choices, and this is me. This is how I represent myself. But then at the same time, I've heard you speak words of patience and what's realistic. And hey, I couldn't even swim across the pool without dying. It's not like you stayed in the pool for 19 hours and you had to swim nonstop for 19 hours without touching the bottom before it was okay. When you talk about not quitting, it's like you went back every single day and you understood it's a progression of getting better, not necessarily just in this moment. So if someone goes out and is motivated by this podcast, they want to go out and run 100 miles today. Realize you're going to stop and you're not going to hit 100 miles today. It's more about the consistent journey of just getting fucking after and like, hey, what did I do today? I did this. Okay, how do I take that, manage it, troubleshoot what I could have done better? Oh, I didn't bring any water. That sucked, right? Okay, so maybe this time tomorrow when I go for this little run, I'm going to maybe do a light stretch. I'm going to bring some water. And, oh, hey, I ran 2 more miles that day. And then it's just about piling up these little wins that gradually over time you've turned yourself into an icon.
Yeah, success breeds success. Confidence breeds confidence. And when you look back on a journey, it's about all of those little wins that gives you the opportunity to hit that grand slam at the bottom of the 9th in the World Series. Like, you have to have those small wins in order to even put yourself in that position to be able to do that. And it's building that foundation that it's rock solid, because when you get into those moments where it's like impossible, you don't think you can take the next step, you have to rely on that past experience and knowledge to say, okay, I know it's going to be okay. I know this is only temporary, and I will regret for the rest of my life quitting on myself, because I do have that choice right now.
Fun question for you, because I know we're getting close to, we got about 7 minutes left. Fun question. What's the hardest thing you've ever done? And you know what? It doesn't necessarily have to be physical either. Like maybe it's, oh man, being a father or whatever it may be. But like Iron Cowboy, what's the hardest fucking thing you've ever done, man? To date.
Man, I don't know if it's the hardest, but it is what I'm most proud of. And it's currently 20 years of happy marriage and raising 5 kids, 4 of them, which now are 4 teenage girls, and then having my little boy. That's hard to be engaged and to learn how to parent 5 different ways, and to how to communicate and match your spouse, their intensity, their love, all that. That's always a challenge. And I think that's why a lot of marriages or relationships don't work, or kids, don't turn out the way we want them, because it comes down to, well, the path of least resistance is like, I'm out, or I don't care, or I'm out. And so I think the hardest thing anybody can do is to show up for yourself, your spouse, and your family on a daily, consistent basis over a super long period of time. And I think that's one of the things I'm most proud of in my life is we are going 20 years strong, and we have a great relationship, and we've got 5 really good kids. And I don't think it's an accident. I think it's mostly my wife's fault. but I think that's probably the hardest and most thing I'm proud of.
That's super
Great
cool.
answer.
And we talk about like how all the physical and the Ironmans, hey, how does that apply to business? How does that apply to your family? Is there anything about your family that applies to your competition?
Yeah, just being adaptable and being able to handle different things that come at you from left field, and you just have no idea. And especially with, teenage girls, they're going to come at you with some crazy stuff. I'm telling you, my girls right now are 18, 17, 14, and 13. And
wow.
you talk about stuff that you have to adapt and be flexible and whatnot. It's like business. You're going to get thrown a curveball like all the time, and you have to be on your toes. You got to be smart. You got to be able to pivot. You got to be able to calm down. You got to be able to choose your words. All of it. It all relates to business. And so, man, life is just a beautiful thing. And if you can control your mind, control your emotions, control your reactions, learn how to separate those two things, learn how to communicate. All of those things are going to set you up for life in sport, life in business, life in relationship, life in parenting, life in retirement. Life on the golf course. You can balance all those things and manage those key points. Dude, you can't lose. You just can't lose.
Well, it sounds like you just, especially when you're going through things with your daughter, right? Like you don't quit being dad. Like if you decide to just not engage and not handle certain things that come out of left field, you don't get to just quit that. Like you have to do it. You know what I mean? And if I feel like it correlates to like you get something thrown at you in left field during your Ironmans, it's just like, hey, like there is no option. We've got to overcome this obstacle, but the option isn't to quit. The option is to figure that out, right? And speaking of this 100-man Ironman, before we let you go, because I know you've got about 4 minutes left with us before you got to go run something or ride something or crush something. When does this 100 days start? Is there anywhere, can people follow you on Instagram to just see some of the behind the scenes or see some of the actual competition when you're doing it, when it starts, what it's all about? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so we'll be launching the page on next Monday. Not sure when this airs, but it'll probably be up when this airs. It's at ironcowboy.com. All the information is going to be on there. We are going to be doing live updates. We're going to be doing blogs and all the data that we talked about that we're analyzing. That's all going to be up there. You can follow the journey at all the social handles at Iron Cowboy James. And we're actually inviting people to come join us.
I'm coming out.
I'm there, bro. Part of the swim, bike, or run with us. If it's just a mile, it's a 5K, or whatever you can do, come join us. And all we ask is that you look at our charity, which is Operation Underground Railroad, and they have a big emphasis, and their mission is to do sting operations and missions and take down the bad guys that are behind human sex trafficking.
Nice. Yeah.
And we're going to do virtual events. You can come do live with us and participate. And we'd love the donation, and we'd love the world to get together, because this is a human mankind issue. And we'd love to see, it's a heavy issue, but we feel, like I said, I got 4 teenage girls, right? So it really hits home with this kind of thing. And even boys are being sex trafficked and whatnot. So I've got 5 kids, and I couldn't imagine any of my kids going through any of that. And if we can free some humans, that would be spectacular.
100%.
And I'm just going in this with the mindset of like, I can suffer for 100 days, right? These individuals have no idea when their suffering is going to end. And so if I can suffer for 100 days and our team can suffer for 100 days with the opportunity to do and have that impact, I mean, that's going to get me up every single day. I don't know if I need more than that, right? Like that right there is like, no, get up. You have an unbelievable life and you get to do this kind of thing today. So let's go, right?
Super powerful. Super powerful. We're going to be promoting you on our side, man, on our personal Instagrams. I'm actually coming out to see you for one of those legs. I'm not sure if I can keep up with you on a bike, but I'm really good at like picking up water and handing it to you. You know what I mean? And just making that. But
and the beauty thing is obviously we're doing 100 in a row, and we're going to try to maintain a very conservative pace, one that we believe everybody can hold, especially on the run. Conservative 11, 12-minute mile. Anybody with enough, preparation or is in decent to normal shape has the ability to do that. And again, just come out for a mile if that's all you can do.
Yeah.
And if not, just do it from where you are. Get up every single day and do your version of hard. I talk a lot about everybody's heart is different, and it's about showing up and pushing your limits, your boundaries, because that's when you grow.
100%. I think that's right where we end it. James, we're going to throw some music on for the outro. Pay attention to his music because it's the chorus of those same guys that you liked, Long Cut. And then right when we cut this out, we'll make sure we got the proper information to throw the links on when we upload this, and then we'll cut you loose from there, brother.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
All right, guys. You've been listening to Day 100 Podcast. Find us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, anywhere and anywhere. But until next time, we will catch you soon. Out. I'ma sip it on